That's the UFC inside.
How do you think Shadour did this season, Jake?
Say it again?
How do you think Shadour did this season?
Oh yeah, let's go. Shout out to Shadour, shout out to the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, he really proved himself and started to play amazing and get the hang of it and get the pace of the NFL speed. And it's a really exciting future with him as the Browns quarterback.
Question to both of you.
Let's go.
The way to enter this sport with the splash is something you guys have done. You guys have called yourself disruptors. We're now talking MMA. For a long time, this has been the only game in town in the UFC. To come into this sport with these two fights, how exciting is it for you to maybe show that there's an alternative way to do this?
Yeah, it's very exciting. That's what we've always done, is break down barriers and be super disruptive and change the combat sports world for the better. And I think this event is a statement. I think there's a lot of tension out there in the MMA world and a lot of fighters who want better opportunities. And our motto has always been fighter first. And I think that's what we're going to be able to prove with this event is big viewership, big money, and giving another option to fighters out there in the MMA world of a good place to go.
You talk about other options. We all know the UFC contracts are pretty restrictive, pretty long-term, hard to get out of. What messages would you have to guys under the current UFC roster that may be like, listen, just get out of it and there's somewhere else for you to go? Or what would you say to those guys?
We're not looking to interfere with anything to do with their contracts, right? John Jones said he wants to be released, and I tweeted, UFC should release him. Like, he's not in a good place. I wasn't trying to interfere. I was just saying, yeah, I agree with Dana. The guy's hip is bad. Like, let that old man out of his contract to go make a few shillings somewhere else. Look, we have the benefit that we built this relationship with Netflix over the past 2.5 years. We have the benefit that I was front and center for what I believe was the best period of UFC in terms of what that product was. Learned a lot from Lorenzo, saw a lot from Dana, and now we can take that with Ronda Rousey, who was the biggest star in the UFC, bigger than your man Conor McGregor in 2015. He was unequivocally, numbers-wise, she was bigger than Conor in that year, and she's launching this, right? And from the first time I sat down with her, she said, "I want to start MVP MMA." That was her vision, her aspiration. And I've said this to her, and I'll say it to you guys. It all depends on how this event does, right? If this event does well, and we see that there's a demand for this, and him and I sit down and say there's a real opportunity to do this successfully in a strategic way that is not losing tons of money, we'll definitely go after it. And I think the UFC would welcome that, because they're getting sued left, right, and center for being a monopoly, right? So they'd probably be like, yeah, sure, let these idiots do it. They don't know what they're doing. That's not what we do. Everything that they say they don't do is what they do.
Do you guys agree with Ronda that they're just looking for the most cost-effective fights at this point, just to save their Paramount money?
I think, look, Mark Shapiro was on an earnings call and he said, fighter pay is very important to us, but so are our margins, right? Exact words. We're going to protect these margins. So you can sit up there and say, don't worry, fighter pay is just doing fine. It's going to continue to go up. But if the margin is 40%, which is unheard of in almost any industry, let alone sports. Look at ball and stick sports and what those margins are. It's just not an unfair equation, right? And I think fighters more and more will start to see that. I think Eddie Hearn coming in as an agitator is funny in many ways, but also could be powerful, because there's never been a sophisticated manager at his level who's running $1 billion promotional business that understands the inside and outside of fighter contracts the way that he does. I don't believe 1,000 fighters have reached out to him, as he said, because there isn't 1,000 fighters that actually would be able to get to him. But is there 20, 30, 40 real athletes that start working with Eddie Hearn? I think that's great for the sport. And it'll be a good check and balance for the UFC as well.
Go ahead, Jorge.
Jake, a couple of years ago you signed with the PFL to do MMA. If this does take off, would you be willing to fight in MMA?
Yeah, 100%. I've always just liked to challenge myself and be a disruptor and do things that people wouldn't expect me to do. I have a wrestling background. I love MMA, and I would be down to learn some kicks and some submission defense. I would be down, and I tried very, very hard multiple times with Nate Diaz to make that happen. That I believe is the perfect fight for me in MMA. So I would still like to make that happen.
And just to be clear on that question, right? During his time at PFL, it was never that he was going to fight. If he was going to fight, he was going to do it with PFL. And we tried with Nate. That was the dream fight. And I still think that fight has possibility.
Jake,
Jake,
what do you think about Ryan?
Right here, go ahead.
All right, Kobe came with all the smoke fight. We asked Usyk last time we saw him if he would be willing to fight you, and he said he would in MMA. Would you be willing to fight him in MMA or boxing? And how do you think that would go?
Yeah, I think the MMA fight between us would be super interesting, and put us more on a level playing field. And I think it would be very, very difficult for me. Again, he has the height advantage, the weight advantage, and I think it would be very tough. But I would be down to give it a run for his money.
Hey Jake, Ryan Garcia, have you seen, what do you think about Ryan Garcia's performance, and would you fight him again?
I never fought him, but no, I would fight Ryan for sure. And I thought his performance was really good, and probably one of the best he's ever looked in recent times. So I was, despite our beef in the past, I was very happy for him.
What I love about Ryan, what I love about Ryan Garcia is similar to Jake. He speaks his mind at all times. He's not afraid of the repercussions of saying exactly what he's thinking and taking responsibility for that. And that means he's a disruptor, just like Jake Paul.
Jake, over there, go.
Jake, when Francis says he wants to give you a beating, how do you separate the business side to hand him his paycheck after he's been saying, like, man, I would take it to you?
No, yeah, that's why I don't get offended. At the end of the day, business is business. And I just think it's funny. Like, he can say what he wants, but Anthony Joshua had him unconscious laying on the ground for 5 minutes. And I just stood right back up and went, whoa, when Anthony hit me. So, I proved just in that night alone that I'm a better boxer than
Jake,
him.
what do you make of Ronda Rousey shitting on UFC? Saying it's not what it used to be.
I totally agree with her, and that's what I like about Ronda is she always speaks her mind. She doesn't give a fuck, and I'm the same way. And I've been saying it for a long time that the UFC is slowly turning into something that I'm not a fan of. And I used to be the UFC's biggest fan and follow all the fights and fighters and be excited and etc. And it just turned into something else.
All right, one more question.
What do you make about the beef between Eddie Hearn and Dana White?
I think it's very entertaining, and I just think it's good content and good for both of their promotional abilities, and I think we'll see more UFC fighters go and sign with Eddie Hearn, which I think is a very smart move on their part.
Who wins the boxing match between them?
Eddie would definitely win.
I think Dana destroys him.
Really?
Really?
I think Dana destroys him. Dana knows how to box. Eddie does not know how to box. Dana knows how to box.
He was a kickboxing instructor, though.
Yeah, he was Tybo.
Jake had a few Emmys. No, Jake. Eddie had a few Emmys.
I think Dana would destroy him.
Jake, was it true that Van Damme called you out?
Yeah.
He called him out. He tried to follow him in Milan. He sent people to find us, try to make a fight. It just, what a legend. What an absolute rock star. But, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.